see how the Porsche RS Spider goes. This car is actually owned by Francois Perraudot, who is starting 6th himself in a Peugeot 908. So if you look down the field there, you'll see there are a couple of Peugeots, in fact, lining up on the grid. One is in 6th place, Francois Perraudot, the other, Sean Lin, starting in 7th position. Francois does own the Porsche RS Spider that is actually on pole position, and which is being driven by Emmanuel Collard. There's an amazingly wonderful noise from these machines. They are seriously rapid cars. We're going to see some fast lap times once they get up to full speed. It is actually, the clock is ticking away, and the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap.
Yes, the clock normally starts at the beginning of the second green flag lap, so effectively the second green flag lap is part of the race when they run 2 green flag laps like this.
Emmanuel Collard leads them round. They all start to be bunching up a little bit more now as they start to get ready for the start of this particular race. Plenty more other cars to look out for in there. There's got a couple of Moslers in this one, a little Porsche 962, which is actually quite well up on the grid. It's Lucas Alusa, we've seen him a couple of times. That is in 12th position on the grid, Porsche 962. We've got Ligier, we've got the MG Lola of Mike Newton. That's starting in 15th place on the grid, a car that he raced when it was a current car with Tommy Erdos, actually, back in the day. Not that long ago, 2004 the car was first created, but again it adds to the mixture of machinery that we've got out there. We've got other Porsches, GT Porsches as well, a Chevrolet Corvette. We've got Pescarolo LMP1 car, Jamie Constable, you saw him out racing earlier on today. He lines up in 11th place on the grid. So a massive variety of cars, very, very quick machinery, and let's hope that they can deliver us with an entertaining race in the Masters Endurance Legends race. And talking about endurance legends, you've got to say Emmanuel Collard is definitely one of those. 2 times winner of the Le Mans series, and all those Le Mans events that he's done. He's won LMP2 before at Le Mans in the Porsche RS Spider Evolution in 2009. He's won the GT class at Le Mans back in 2003. We're getting ready for the start of the Masters Endurance Legends race. Emmanuel Collard, the poleman, leads them through the final corner. Rob Weldon trying to get alongside. It's a bit of an open grid as the race gets underway properly under a green flag. But it's Emmanuel Collard who has the advantage from Rob Weldon as they flash through Abbey Corner at such high pace already and chase down the road into the right-hander at Village. But it is Emmanuel Collard with that immediate advantage. Matthew Wrigley's up there as well, and all of them now beginning to pick up the pace bit by bit as they head around onto the Wellington Straight, and we're going to see some pretty rapid straight line speeds down here. Emmanuel Collard, with so much experience to his name, he leads from Rob Weldon, Matt Wrigley in 3rd place in the Dallara, and then a rest of a group of cars heading down towards Brooklands, trying to keep it as neat and as tidy as possible. But look at how Collard is already beginning to make the escape, Alistair. So he's got a very good getaway.
Yes, as you say, so experienced, but the cars are so quick that they come through Cots Corner already, and we haven't really had much of the race yet, and they're already making their way up to Beckett's Corner for the first time. Fabulous place to spectate for these cars here as they sweep it through the Beckett's right, left and right. Collard it is who still leads in the Porsche RS Spider. 2nd place is Rob Weldon in the Lola, and then in 3rd place the open car, the red and white car of Matthew Wrigley, who we saw earlier, of course, win that fabulous Formula 2 race.
Yeah, very rapid in that, and he's getting very close in the race for 2nd place. See whether he's going to be able to make any progress there, but Collard is definitely making the break bit by bit. 4th place, as you say, is the James Cottingham Dallara. That's dropped back just a little bit, but is not out of the battle completely. There's no doubt Sean Lynn in the Peugeot 908 is then tucked in behind, but Rob Weldon really putting a pressure on Collard and going through. Rob Weldon takes the lead in the Lola and takes command of the race. Now, is Collard just playing a game, or is he struggling for pace for some reason. Oh, a bit of a deep line there from Matt Wrigley. He went into village a bit too deep, lost a bit of time as a result, but is still holding on in there for now in third place. But he hasn't got the pace of these two. They are beginning to pull away. Emmanuel Collard still tucked in behind Rob Weldon.
And Collard had half a think there about the inside at Brooklands, but no room through there. And they come now through Luffield, and in third place Matthew Wrigley. But here are the two leaders coming out through Woodcote Corner. Collard in behind in the open car with the closed Lola leading, and they're already catching some tail enders as they go into Cox Corner, only for the second time.
So yes, that Lola in control at the moment, but Emmanuel Collard is well tucked in behind, and this Lola V1260 that is currently leading the race. The car rebuilt from the X-Factory Mazda prototype LMP2 car, identical chassis to the Lola LMP1, prepared by Pete Chambers originally with a Judge 4.4 litre engine, and won many championships over the time of its life. Emmanuel Collard in second place, coming under a bit of pressure from Matt Wrigley in his Dallara. Meanwhile, in the background, Francois Perraudot's moved up in the Peugeot 908. He's now up into fourth place, but there is a bit of a gap back to him. The top three have made a bit of an escape, no doubt about it, as they head out of Club Corner with 33 minutes still to go. But putting in some quick lap times, we're down to 1 minute 49.1 on that last lap for Rob Weldon. So rapid lap times indeed from these cars, and Collard not quite got the same level of pace just yet, but I think he may well have it later on in the race. Let's wait and see. Meanwhile, David Bryce in the Lola LMP2 BO980, Goodwood instructor David, and he's running strongly in 7th position under a little bit of pressure from the number 36 car of Max Lynn. That's the BR01, the LM prototype constructed by BR Engineering, the Russian businessman-owned outfit by Boris Romanovich Rotenberg, who created these prototype cars, well, certainly funded these prototype cars, I should say. And, getting into a little bit of a battle there, no doubt about it. That's the number 9 car of Thornton on the Peugeot 908s. So we've got some really recent top-class machinery here. The 908 was developed for the 2011 season. We had ran the diesel engines. We've got one of these with the diesel power. That's actually Francois Perraudot's car. And meanwhile, the car that Sean is driving, yet won Petit Le Mans back in 2009. That particular car. So it's got a good history to it as well. And that is the number 9 car, which is running around in 6th place. Back to the front runners.
Yes, we've got here Emmanuel Collard just ahead of the red and white car. That's Matt Wrigley. Very noticeable colours on that car. A lot of the cars seem to run sort of a dark blue and black colours, but thankfully for us, Matt Wrigley in red and white. There's the leader going through the sweepers up towards Village, and the leading car should be Rob Weldon.
Yes, just corrected again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, looking at our graphics there, so Rob Weldon's transponder not tripping the beam as he crosses the line, but he is leading as he goes out onto the Wellington Straight, and you can see there the gap between him and second placed Emmanuel Collard in the Porsche Spider, and not far behind Collard, of course, is Matt Wrigley, but it's Perraudot who's setting the fastest lap in the Peugeot.
There he is.
In 4th place.
Yeah, going well now, Francois Perraudot in that Porsche, in the Peugeot, sorry, 908, the 5.5 litre machine. And there we can see also going well is Rob Weldon, our race leader, of course, doing a fantastic job so far. But Perraudot setting fastest lap and very rapid times, 1 minute 47 around this 3.7 mile Silverstone circuit, the full length track. Weldon in control at the moment with just over half an hour to go. 2 cars are under investigation for contact that was made a little while ago. Number 8 Criton Lendudis, and also the 99 car of Jamie Constable. Jamie's currently running in 8th place, but clearly there was something between them early on which is being investigated. Emmanuel Collard, though, there he is in the Porsche RS Spider, currently running in 2nd place. there is Perodo catching.
Yeah, he's almost caught, hasn't he? He's almost caught Matt Wrigley in the Dallara Orica as they come into the left-hander at club corner. And the Peugeot has been really quick. Now, it was a wet session for qualifying yesterday, so we're seeing perhaps a slight change in the order in terms of the speeds these cars will do in the dry, and it's the Peugeot that's really making the waves at the moment as he comes up through Farm into the right-hander at Village. A lot later on the brakes there in the Peugeot than Matt Wrigley in the Dallara as they go up now towards the loop. Tight section here, and I think Perodo is going to go for the inside at Aintree, but Matt Wrigley's too quick for him. Gets that car off the slow corner very well, but now they're coming onto the Wellington straight and a change of position. Yeah,
the Peugeot moves into third place. Francois Perodo doing a fantastic job. It's a very rapid machine, this, of course, and Peugeot have had a lot of success with their LMP cars over recent years. We'll just have to see. They were beaten by Audi at Le Mans in 2011 by just 13 seconds. It was a bit of a close battle, that one. But let's see how he goes here. He's into a potential podium finishing position. Emmanuel Collard is still second, but the gap that Rob Weldon has opened up now, some 4.7 seconds. Very, very impressive in the number 116 car. The 2-litre powered Lola B1260 really flying along, and Collard seeing that he might get caught by Perodo, because Perodo has been lapping more quickly over those last couple of laps. Got himself into third, and Collard might be under a bit of pressure going forward. There is Francois delivering some great lap times.
Well, Francois Perodo may have the fastest lap of the race, but it is literally only a fraction quicker than our leader Rob Weldon. It's 0.003 of a second difference, so nothing really. And Perodo now has passed and cleared Matt Wrigley for that third and fourth place battle, and now heads off after Emmanuel Collard in the Porsche, looking for second place. Lap times at the moment actually favour the leader, Rob Weldon. He's slightly quicker.
So the lead car is an LMP1 car category. Collard's car, in theory, is an LMP2 car, so it is in a different class. But the rest of the front runners, LMP1 cars, and then we go down the order a little bit to more of the LMP2 cars as well. And then we've got some GT cars. I think the leading GT car is down in 17th place at the moment. That is car number 65, so that's actually Ollie Bryant going well in the Ford Mustang GT. So it's a different category that's out there racing, and Ollie Bryant doing well in that class at the moment, running in 17th position. But obviously the LMP, the prototype cars, are the ones who are commanding the front end, and Perodo is gradually closing that gap to Emmanuel Collard. Let's see what he can get it down to. Collard's got a bit of traffic up ahead of him as well, and it could well give Perodo the chance to close the gap just a little bit more. But Rob Weldon putting in these rapid laps up front. But look, yeah, you can see how much closer the Peugeot is to the open top Porsche. And in fact, the Peugeot is going to go down the inside, clear down the inside into, well, I say clear, no, and he gets sideways. Wasn't that clear? There was almost a touch between them. Perodo had to back out at the last minute and then got really sideways at Stowe Corner, and Emmanuel Collard holds on to second. So Francois has just realised he's going to have to fight a bit harder, make sure he gets fully alongside or even ahead going into the next attempt to overtake. Collard holds on to second for now, Perodo in third, and Matt Wrigley a little further back in fourth position. Sean Lynn is in fifth, Jamie Constable in sixth, or car trying to get out of the way but also locking up there. In the lower end of the GT category, we've got a few of the Porsches having some good battles there in the GT class. As we mentioned, Ollie Bryant still doing a good job. There's Collard trying to fight his way through. I think that's one of the Moslers. Yes, it is one of the Moslers that he's just overtaken. We've got a couple of Moslers in the race here today. We saw the Mosler competed with by Roll Centre. Martin Short, of course, got very involved in not only running them but promoting them as well. Sean Balfe as well raced Moslers in the UK, and Martin took the car to a second place finish at Bathurst back in 2002, which was pretty impressive. But the Moslers are not at the same level as things like this Peugeot 908, which is holding up there in third and chasing after Collard. But actually Collard's fending him off better on this lap.
But it was interesting to watch how Collard dealt with those slower cars up through the section of Village and the Loop. He just made his way through them without really missing a beat. But when the Peugeot of Perodo came up against them, he really got in a bit of a mess in the Loop. He went the wrong side of them, in my opinion, and then he got caught on the outside and lost a bit of time. But he's making that up again now, and that's perhaps just the difference between the massive experience of Emmanuel Collard and the relative inexperience of the driver behind.
Yeah, but Francois is beginning to catch up once again. The speed that these things carry, when we've been watching so many other cars coming through that last segment, but these things just are flying through Abbey Corner. They carry so much speed through here. It's the sort of corner they can do probably flat out, I would think, with the level of downforce that these cars create, whereas most of the cars that are racing here this weekend have to dab on the brakes going into the right-hander. Now we're into the tighter section. Again, Perodo showing better pace generally over the last couple of laps, but when he got alongside Collard, it didn't quite come off first time around. Rob Weldon is still opening that gap up in the lead. He's got it up to nearly 10 seconds now, so comfortably in front.
I think Francois Perodo has realised that you can't monster Emmanuel Collard, can you? He just carried on his line. He wasn't going to be diverted from that, and it was Perodo who had to back out of it in the end, a lap or so ago at Stowe Corner. But now they're coming through along the old pit straight along towards Cops Corner, and just jinking out there as they came along the straight, but no room to move through at Cops, but closing all the time on Collard as they go up the hill and over the rise into Maggots. Now they turn right into Beckett's, and then left, and then right again. And it's the way that these cars change direction which is absolutely amazing to me. There is no sliding in these, quite different from the older cars we've been watching up until now. The way to drive these cars quickly is absolutely straight. Here
comes Perodo. He's going to have another go at the same place where he tried to overtake last time. This time he gets fully alongside and ahead before they get into the corner. This time he does not get sideways halfway around it, and I think he's got the move made, but they've got a bit of traffic to deal with, and that is where Collard is very strong, although in this case he gets held up and realises he might have to back out, does get back on the power, and Perodo's got into safe second place. Wrigley's still in fourth place rather, chasing after Emmanuel Collard. But Perodo, does he have the pace to go chasing after the leader? I don't think so, because they're actually lapping at a similar pace. We'll have to see. The leader is in the pits now, in fact. So Rob Weldon has decided to make his pit stop at this stage in the race relatively early. Well, the pit window is open, and so it's good to get it done. He is not swapping over to anyone else. There are some drivers who are swapping over to partners, but in that case Rob Weldon is just sticking in the car and will sit in the pits for a few seconds before coming back out onto the track once again. The number 20 car just chasing down, that's Keith Fraser, as he goes past one of the GT cars. Sean Lynn's now moved up to fourth, but remember, Rob Weldon in the pits, so that's the reason that you're seeing quite a lot of changes to the current order. That will all settle back down again after they have all made their pit stops. So, good advantage for Weldon before he came into the pits. As long as everything goes according to plan, he should emerge with a pretty comfortable lead still later on. That's David Bryce, still going well in the Lola LMP2. He's running in 7th place. He will be handing his car over when he makes the pit stop. There is Emmanuel Collard now in 2nd place, but really it's 3rd, because once he's made his pit stop he will drop back to 3rd, because this Peugeot is the one that got past him. It's currently leading the race, but I'm not sure it's going to be quick enough. Let's just see. He's been doing 1 minute 47s. That was another 1 minute 47.4. I have to say he's pretty consistent on his lap times, Francois Perodo, but it's the same sort of lap time that Rob Weldon was doing before he made his pit stop, and was doing very, very consistently indeed. The track pretty much bone dry. There's a few puddles on some of the runoff areas, but a dry circuit to really push these cars on.
And Rob Weldon back out of the pits again onto the track, so not far behind the current leaders, but obviously they all have to do their stop, But a very efficient stop for Rob Weldon, the minimum stop time, and back out on track again, as we see the current leader, Francois Perraudot, coming through Luffield and then accelerating out through Woodcut Corner. Such an iconic name in motor racing. Woodcut Corner they go through and onto the old pit straight down towards Copse. And then you can see in the background there the second place car of Emmanuel Collard in the Porsche Spider. As Ben said, a different class, an LMP2 car, but really very quick in the hands of Collard.
Yeah, so he's leading the P2 class. The next up in that particular class is the number 36 car, Sean Lynn. So actually no, that's sorry, that's Max Lynn in that the 36 car. That's also an LMP2 car. So keeping an eye on that. But this man, Francois Perraudot, trying to put some quick laps together before he makes his pit stop. But Rob Weldon, who's back out on track, I think will have the advantage. So he now comes in to the pits, and then we'll get to see when he comes back out just where the gap is between himself and Rob Weldon. We'd expect it to be still quite a big gap. It was around 9 seconds before the pit stops began. It will give us an idea of whether we're going to see a tussle to the end between the Lola and the Peugeot. See, one of the Moslers is in the pits. You can see it in the background there. Celine also in the pits. Just the one Celine, that's Olivier Tangogne, who's in that car.
And looks like Collard in as well. Yes, Collard was in. We didn't see that on the camera shot because we followed the Perraudot car, but also in the pits is the second placed car of Emmanuel Collard, who happens to be pitted right behind the Peugeot. So they're sat there together. It's a busy pit lane at the moment, actually. Yeah,
Max Lynn just heading in, wasn't he? To say as well, as we look at one of the handsome GT cars, this is the number 70 machine of Marcus Jewell. This is a car that he's sharing with Ben Klukas. So we've seen Ben putting in some pretty rapid times already so far today, and we could well see that making up some ground as the race continues. They have done the pit stop, so I think Ben's in the car now, because it was Marcus who started the race. But yeah, Ben Klukas will have taken it on because it's made its pit stop, and I can see some faster personal sector times coming up for them, but they've got a bit of work to do. That car of Ben Klukas down in 24th position currently. In fact, moving up to 20th now. You just see it at the bottom of the data list there on the left of the screen. So we're looking at the number 116 car of Rob Weldon. This is the car that we think will be back in front once everybody, those leaders, have done their pit stops.
This will be interesting now, because here he comes through Club Corner onto the Hamilton Straight. We can see the exit of the pit lane, so we'll be able to see the difference between the car coming through Abbey now, and here we've got Emmanuel Collard in the pits, and through has gone Rob Weldon, and out onto track. That's Perraudot's car back on track again. So where's he at the moment? He's going through Village. I think this is no, that's actually coming through Luffield.
Okay, so
that's a long way ahead of Rob Weldon.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So has Perraudot taken the advantage? So we will see in a moment when they come around to complete the lap. It does look as though he's ahead, doesn't it?
So what we don't know is whether Rob Weldon's pit stop was longer than it needed to be, perhaps for an adjustment. We don't know that, so it could be that Rob Weldon lost time in the pits. He's put a fastest lap in. He knows he's got a chase on now, doesn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. Or was the pit stop for Perraudot long enough? Well, that's the other question. Or will he end up with a penalty? I don't know.
Absolutely, that's the question we don't know the answer to.
Sean Lynn in number 9, another of the Peugeots. That is the car that won the Petit Le Mans back in 2009. There's a great history to it. But yeah, let's keep an eye on Perraudot, because it does look as though he is now our race leader, and he's got to keep these laps together. Certainly haven't seen any evidence of a problem for Weldon when he was in the pits.
Well, the question will be answered when we see the relative position of Collard, because assuming he did the correct length pit stop, he will either come out near to Perraudot or near to Weldon.
Yeah, I think he's just on his way over pits now, actually, Collard. We'll see. Weldon, I think, is just coming up. Yeah, I thought I'd seen him come through. No, I think he's just gone through Abbey now. think we're seeing. We've got 15 minutes to go for now. And Sean Lynn on doubt lap. You'll see him drop down the order slightly.
I noticed that Collard is relative to Weldon quite close, and about 10-12 seconds, which is what he was before the pit stops. And that makes me lean towards Perodo's stop being a bit short.
Yeah, that's a bit of an odd one. Going past the, or certainly challenging there to go past the Porsche 962. Lovely to see that one out and about, but not able to compete with cars from a much later era. So you really are seeing quite a big spread in terms of years between the cars engaged in this race. That's Lucas Salusa. We've seen him out in many different cars already today, Lucas. He's out in that Porsche 962, a 1993 car. And a very, very classic sports racing car, of course, the Porsche 962, developed from the Porsche 956 in the 1980s. Oh, and the Moslers had a spin. Number 2, that's Aaron Scott, I believe. The leading GT car, there it is, Ollie Bryant. He's doing a good job in the Ford Mustang. We saw him earlier on that he was leading in the class, and he is doing so at this stage. Perodo still being shown as our race leader. Jamie Constable being shown as in second place now. It's a little bit difficult to understand this, why the pit stops have changed the order so much. I don't really understand it.
Yes, because Constable's done his stop, so it's not as though he's there because he hasn't done a stop yet. In fact, all the cars, the pit window's just closed. Actually, as I'm saying that, all the cars have done their pit stops. The question is whether they were the right length, as the leader overall passes the GT leader.
Yeah, very different race, but that's all part and parcel, of course. It's the same at Le Mans. You get the different classes, and winning your category is what it is all about. And well, right now, leading quite comfortably is the car of Francois Perodo. He started back down in 6th place on the grid. We don't quite understand why he's managed to make this big jump on Rob Weldon, who started from the front row, had a comfortable lead before the pit stops began, but is now struggling. But I tell you what, Weldon is going quicker than anybody out there. He is just on a 1 minute 45.9. Perodo's still doing 1 minute 47s. To be fair to Jamie Constable, he's doing consistent 147s as well in the number 99 car. So Constable is flying along in the Pescarolo. He's made up good ground because he qualified down in 11th. Clearly it works well in the dry, that car. As we see Lucas coming up behind Ollie Bryant and then back into the Mosler battle. I think there's a Mosler side-by-side battle going on there pretty much. Weldon has come up into 2nd place now, but he's a full 14 seconds off the lead. And there is Perodo as he crosses the line once more. That's 14 laps completed, with 12 minutes remaining and an advantage apparently of 10 seconds. Suddenly that's come down a little bit. Another rapid lap by Rob Weldon there, so maybe he's going to make up the ground. Some time to go. We shall see if he can do it. Collard finds himself down in 5th place now.
The gap was reduced massively because Weldon's lap was quick, but not the quickest he's done. But Perodo had a very slow lap. He was about 6 seconds slower than his normal lap time. So he maybe caught some traffic and was just very cautious lapping the traffic. Doesn't seem to have any problems in our picture now as he goes through Luffield.
That lap that Rob Weldon has done is a new record at the Classic. It is the fastest lap ever seen at the Classic, apparently. I'm just hearing 1:45.93. So an XJR14 driven by Nicolas Minassians, the previous holder back in 2013, and it has been beaten. So well done to Rob Weldon, who's taken a new lap record in this. Very, very impressive indeed. Now, Graham Goodwin explaining to me what's been going on in this. Rob Weldon and Emmanuel get pit stop penalties rated as pro drivers.
Right.
So that's the understanding. Francois Perodo is rated as a gentleman driver, and therefore he gets a shorter pit stop. I hadn't realised that, my mistake, sorry, should have picked up that on the rules, but thank you to Graham Goodwin, the editor of Daily Sports Car, and always has great information for us. So Thank you, Graham. And that is the reason that Francois Perrodo is now leading the race. He was allowed a shorter pit stop. That's part of the rules. He's a gentleman driver. The others are seen as professionals, basically. And that is why he has now taken the step ahead. Looking at the number 165 car there, still putting in some quick laps in, it was David Bryce, but it's now Alan Purbrick in the Lola. There, the number 99 machine of Jamie Constable, which has also been going well, and that's the reason I'm sure that Jamie's moved up too. He didn't have to have the longer pit stop, so that has worked extremely well.
And we're seeing here the Peugeot that's leading Francois Perrodo, and the gap between first and second on our graphic is 9.7 seconds as they come through Copse Corner. So Rob Weldon gradually chipping away at the lead, but it's not the big chunks that he was taking a little earlier on, which as I mentioned, I think was partly due to Francois Perrodo having a bad lap, or a lap where he lost about 6 seconds, possibly through having to lap slower cars.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Rob to come back though, isn't it, still, with that gap being nearly 10 seconds. The cloud above that section of track. I have to say, where we are at the moment, the sky's looking relatively safe in terms of staying dry. So there is Rob Weldon having to run that longer pit stop through his pro status, and now trying to make the best of what he can here, trying to close up that gap to Francois Perrodo.
You can see the car jumping around, not across the track, but it's so stiffly sprung, and with all the downforce it's got as it hits the little undulations in the track, just the rear wing you can see shaking under the pressure as they come up to Village, and he's going to go through. Oh, and the car behind, the car ahead, sorry, the slower car, didn't see him coming and tried to turn in, and Rob Weldon gave him a little biff there as they came in, but hopefully that didn't damage anything on either car. It looks like they're okay, but unfortunately just a little bit of a misunderstanding there as Rob Weldon was flying through on the brakes into Village. Now he's down into Luffield, and he's got a slower car ahead of him, and that's just compromising his line a little bit into Luffield, but you see how he squirts by there, the difference in pace from the GT cars to these full LMP1 cars as they come out onto the old pit straight.
Weldon is certainly a very professional driver, a Radical racer for many years, finished second in the Radical UK Cup for 2010 and 2011, and in the Radical European Masters Series back in 2012, and more recently he raced in the European Masters, and he won LMP3 in the European Le Mans Series in 2020, so he really is a very experienced and highly professional driver, which is why he had to have the longer pit stop, and that's why Perrodo has now got this advantage of some 7.3 seconds. Constable in third place. It's also the reason that Manuel Collard has dropped back, a very professional driver himself, all those Le Mans entries over the years, 24 times raced at Le Mans. It's a pretty remarkable career, isn't it?
Rob Weldon has just set a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:45.312, and that is a full 4 seconds. In fact, it's just been adjusted on my screen, a 1:47.552. Still 2 seconds quicker than the leader, though, so we are seeing the gap coming down, although the lap time not quite as quick as originally thought.
No, but as you say, there is still an opportunity. We've got 6 minutes to go. I don't think there's going to be quite enough time for Rob to really close up, but it just depends. If Francois makes any mistakes, then there could be an opportunity for Rob to have a challenge. We've got the timer ticking away. Let's see what the gap is. Is it still, yeah, it's back down. He's gained another 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, absolutely. He's chipping away at it, isn't he? With how many minutes to go? Nearly 6 minutes left in this race. And the pace they're doing, Ben, they're actually getting a lot of laps in, aren't they? Whereas in the earlier races, it was nearly 3-minute laps, some of them.
Yeah, I mean, they're going in the dry now. They're lapping 15 seconds a lap faster than they were in the wet in qualifying yesterday. So big margin. Quicker. Perrodo still with the advantage, and still with a comfortable lead. But look, you know, getting into amongst the traffic here, that's where the gentleman drivers, as they're referred, perhaps maybe a little more cautious. or make a little mistake, and that's where the pros can definitely gain a bit more of an advantage. So you can beginning to see in the background there, Rob Weldon definitely closing up, moving to the inside of the other cars that are around. He's got the gap down to 2.698 seconds, so gained a lot there. Definitely Perodo lost more time going through the traffic than Weldon, and we could still well have a race on our hands to the checkered flag.
Absolutely, yes, as Weldon screams through Club Corner onto the Hamilton Straight, and there the car ahead is the leader, so coming up towards Abbey and Farm, and this is a battle to the flag now, which is still 4.5 minutes away as they come up towards Village, hard on the brakes for the tight right-hander. There is Rob Weldon, runs a little bit deep into Village, just a little bit late on the brakes, and through the left-hander at the loop, a very good line through there, tight onto the apex. Now they're going through Aintree, out onto the fast Wellington Straight. I think we're going to have a change of lead very shortly.
We could well do. This is a battle for the win in the Masters Endurance Legends race. Gentleman racer versus a professional. Two very different cars. We've got the Peugeot up front at the moment and the Lola in second place. They both run as LMP1 cars. They're in the same category. And right now, there's a lot of work going on at the steering wheel.
There it certainly is, yeah. Rob Weldon there had a bit of a moment and went across the curbs, but got it all collected back together again. That will have lost him a fraction of a second in the run-up to Copse Corner. Through Copse he goes, and the Peugeot staying tight on the inside to get past a couple of slower cars. Rob Weldon choosing to pass them as they run into Beckett's, and he's right behind him now.
Look at that, side by side, he takes the place. That's an unusual place, but that was professional driving. The gentleman driver, Francois Perodo, being a bit cautious with traffic around, and Rob just went for it. But actually, look, the straight line speed of that Peugeot has got it back. It's so quick down the Hangar Straight, so Rob's going to have to do it all over again.
And he takes a tighter line through Stowe up towards the Vale. They go in, and he's got the lead back again. Rob Weldon goes back into the lead, going up towards Club Corner. Can he get enough of a gap now to not allow the Perodo car to come up alongside him on power? And I think he has, as he comes up towards Abbey, and the lead has changed, and it's now Rob Weldon back in the lead, Francois Perodo in second, Jamie Constable in third.
Very, very impressive stuff this from Rob Weldon, really good stuff. The 39-year-old, born back in 1981, so he'll be celebrating his 40th birthday in a few months' time. But all that skill and ability has helped him earn top spot here, and with just 2.5 minutes to go, I think he's going to be pretty safe up there, no doubt about it. And did the Asian Le Mans Series with United Autosports. He's been doing that this year with them, scoring consistently well. Also doing the European Le Mans Series with United Autosports. Actually won the LMP3 class with United last year. So he has got so much professional knowledge, and he's used it extremely well here.
And a slight mistake there from Francois Perodo as he braked for Brooklands. You saw a little puff of smoke from one of the tyres locking up, and he ran slightly wide onto the apron on the outside of Brooklands. That lost him another second probably as they come into Beckett's and through the left, right and left sweepers and out onto the Hangar Straight once again. And there is the second place Perodo. We know he's quick down the Hangar Straight, but the gap's too great now, isn't it?
Yeah, he's not going to make up that much ground, is he? We do think they'll be going on to their final lap when they come around, because the clock is gradually ticking away, less than 1.5 minutes, so it will go to 0 during the next lap, and then the checker flag will be coming out. And Rob, who said he'd only done, I think, 9 laps in this car before going into qualifying yesterday, and that was wet. So really, this race, he's just been learning how it works. That last lap wasn't his fastest, but it was only, what, a few thousandths, 3 thousandths off his fastest lap previously. So he's been very, very consistent, showing that professional talent that he has, and it's delivering. Now, actually, he's coming up behind, I think, the car that's still leading the GT class. I think it's still Ollie Bryant. Let's have a look down the list. Actually, no, I think Ben Klukas has taken the lead in that category now, in the number 70 car. That's the Porsche 996 RSR. I think Ben's got in front. Ben Klukas is having a good day. We saw him in the Lotus Cortina earlier, having a good race, and I think he's nipped to the lead in the GT class.
So So the final half lap or so for Rob Weldon, coming up towards Copse Corner now along the old pit straight up towards Copse. We can see in the background the second placed car, but too far back now to mount a challenge as they come through Copse up over the rise towards Maggots. He's choosing now whether he'll go left or right of this car to lap it. He goes on the inside and sighs through on the way through Beckett's, and now out through Chapel Curve onto the Hanger Straight for the last time.
All looking good. It's still going to be Emmanuel Collard in 5th place who will win the P2 category, I believe. He is certainly the first of those. Atkinson down in 13th place, the P3 class. He's leading that particular sector. As I mentioned, Klukas is leading GT2, although Bryant is still the first of the GT1 category. There are various different categories here, but the outright race win is about to go to Rob Weldon, who's driven superbly well in the Lola, had to fight back from what was a big disadvantage, a longer pit stop, which he had to do as a professional driver over Francois Perroda, who finishes second. He had the advantage, being a gentleman driver, of a shorter pit stop, but ultimately he couldn't quite hang on to the lead. What a good battle we saw between them. And Jamie Constable coming home to finish in 3rd position, crosses the line to get a podium finish here today as well.
Rob, I hope you can hear me. A new classic lap record. You must be absolutely delighted.
I've just had such a good time. So thankful for Steve Dandy for giving me the opportunity. Massive effort from Pete Chambers and the lads. It's just been a hell of an experience, and to come away with a trophy to reward them for the work that they've done is just phenomenal. I've enjoyed myself every lap of the way.
Excellent. Francois, what a fantastic drive through the field, but you just didn't quite have enough there at the end.
No, he was way too fast for me, and I've really enjoyed it. It's a great event. It was my first race in the Peugeot, so I'm discovering the car, and I can say it's the only diesel that's worth driving.
Now, Jamie, it's a tough job holding on to these two, isn't it?
Yeah, very tough. I'm just chuffed to bits. We managed to finish. The car's been in the workshop for 6 months, first time out, so really, really happy.
Well, it was a fantastic drive by all three of you. Well done.